Lovely.
Dire team ban.
If you're just joining us, this is the Thunderfunking Dota cast, and I am Cranberry Thunderfunk. This is Game 2 of a best of 3 between Fnatic and Team Liquid in the RaidCall D2L Season 3. Fnatic has just taken a really fantastic Game 1 versus Team Liquid, going for a very aggressive early lineup, getting that Chen, pushing down 5 towers in the space of 10 minutes, resulting in an 11-minute GG. 15-3 in favor of Fnatic. And Liquid, they went for a very late game oriented lineup. Even their supports were very oriented towards the mid to late game with Vengeful Spirit and Tuskar. Tusk being a very unusual pick, but I really don't think synergized with the lineup that they had. They had long-range initiation from Clockwork and global presence from Spectre and Nature's Prophet, which Tuskar really doesn't offer a lot for either of those. His Snowball is a great form of initiation and ways to get otherwise hard to position melee heroes, getting them into the middle of the fight. I think tends to favor carries like Dragon Knight or Lifesteal or more. Heroes that really need a little bit of assistance in getting into the middle of fights. And I just didn't see where Tusk was supposed to fit into that lineup. Plus, it also meant they couldn't challenge Darkseer, played by Trixi, up in the top lane. Trixi was able to put a lot of pressure onto Korok playing Spectre, and that meant that Era, as Dragon Knight down in bottom lane, was able to get a lot more farm. And Spectre, being a much more late game oriented carry, just wasn't able to get any early farm that might have been able to stem some of the huge early hemorrhaging that Fnatic was able to punish Liquid with. So really cool. This is the kind of Fnatic play that I think suits them best. Early aggression and pushing down towers early. They've always been kind of a pushing oriented team, making use of a lot of unique split pushing strategies. You know, most famously the Meepo with Boots of Travel, but in a lot of other ways, making use of heroes that are good at applying lots of pressure to the enemy base, even if they aren't able to outright win team fights. But I think the last game was really a circumstance of just a major outdrafting. There was nothing that Liquid, even in, unless there was a major misplay from Fnatic, that they would have been able to do in the early game there. And Liquid, there's no Wisp banned out this time. Uncommon, Wisp is probably, in fact, I think is definitively the most banned hero in the game for the last 3 to 6 months. So Liquid is going to pick up the IO. And IO has, I believe it's a 61% win rate, which is also the highest. So Fnatic, feeling really confident, they ban out a Nature's Prophet over the IO. I think because Liquid is playing with a stand-in, MSS, and they know that MSS is one of his strongest heroes is the Nature's Prophet, I think maybe hoping to get an early advantage in the drafting by removing one of his strongest heroes, but it could really come to cost them. This is a Wisp Chaos Knight, and this combo, with the exception of a Naga Siren, which is why I believe there's a first ban Naga Siren from Team Liquid. With the exception of a Naga Siren, there really aren't many established ways of dealing with the absurd relocate ganks and the amazing mid to late game that they form together. The only weakness of IO is the laning phase. Because IO does not provide a lot in lane, and really for the first 5 levels, it's possible to outlane a Wisp. Possible, but still not easy. So Fnatic, they're gonna have to pick very strong lanes here, and they may be forced to go for an aggressive tri-lane, which is always a risky affair. If you don't win your aggressive tri-lane, then you have a much harder time coming back in the game unless your other 2 solo lanes are winning outright. And Liquid, they wisely ban out the Chen this game. They don't want to let Notail get that again, and Chen is the sort of hero that can handle, that does well versus Io and Chaos Knight. Hand of God, global heal, make sure that no matter who's getting ganked, that they have a little more HP throughout the fight, and as well as providing good early pushing that can do a lot of good pressure and remove map control necessary for the Wisp Chaos Knight combo to succeed. Fnatic has good initiation through the Batrider. I think Batrider is decent versus the natural BKB carry that Chaos Knight is. That said, if he's able to pop his Phantasm first, his illusions deal almost as much damage as he does. It's 100% of his base damage. And Chaos Knight tends to build very stat heavy, so effectively equal damage. And as an illusion hero, Batrider is not quite as effective as he might be versus other carries like a Lifestealer, who is purely, you're only ever going to be dealing with one Lifestealer. I do like the Earthshaker pickup. Earthshaker had a very nice buff in 6.78, causing illusions hit by Echo Slam to count as full heroes. So in a good team fight, Chaos Knight, who almost always has illusions right on top of himself, because Reality Rift brings all of your illusions on top of a single hero.
5 seconds remaining.
Together, that means they're grouped up nicely for an Echo Slam, and that's going to be a lot of damage if Earthshaker is able to get into position, and that's the big question. Earthshaker tends to struggle pretty badly with farm. Some teams manage to find ways to get him the gold that he needs, but really, in order to pull off the Echo Slam that's required, he's got to get a Blink Dagger, and really he's got to have Arcane Boots on top of that. And that's just for Earthshaker, who is so mana dependent, who has no easy ways to farm, it can be really hard to find that farm. Especially if Fnatic wanted to run the aggressive tri-lane, that's another way that Earthshaker could really suffer. Although he's got that excellent long-range stun in the Fissure, getting kills still doesn't mean a lot of gold for supports in an aggressive tri-lane. It's mostly about getting the one carry farm and about keeping the other carry down. So I think that weakens the Earthshaker pickup in this particular game, because I think it's just going to be really hard for him in the laning phase to get much gold. I have to confess, I don't understand the Bounty Hunter ban entirely. Bounty Hunter is a dangerous combo to have with a heavy kill combo in the IO Chaos Knight,
Radiant team pick.
and can really cause things to snow out of control very quickly. But I guess that's all I have to say about the Bounty Hunter. Fnatic gets the Outworld Devourer, and I think OD is very strong versus Puck mid, and OD will be going mid. Have yet to see him in any other lane in any game yet played.
5 seconds remaining.
In theory, he can be put into a tri-lane because of Essence Aura, and for someone like Earthshaker, who always has such trouble with mana, it's actually a pretty good pick, and will help Earthshaker make sure that he's got a little bit more mana. Through the Enchant Totem, he can proc Essence Aura with decent reliability. That's still 50 mana each time he wants to cast it, and his mana pool is not huge in the first place, so it's a little risky, but it will help Earthshaker's poor mana pool. Liquid managed to get the Visage, a very strong tri-lane support, and that basically secures the defensive tri-lane for Liquid, no problem. And I think that really shuts down the possibility of Fnatic to go for an aggressive tri-lane. At this point, they're forced to either go for a jungler or for an offlaner, but because the Bounty Hunter is no longer in the pool, Darkseer's gone, as well as Nature's Prophet, there aren't a lot of particularly strong offlaners remaining, and actually Lone Druid would have been one of the few left, and even he would have struggled versus an Io and Chaos Knight.
Dire team pick.
I think the Io, well, I have to retract the one statement. Batrider, he is probably going to be jungling this game, which is a little unfortunate. Batrider's better in the Radiant jungle than he is in Dire. I don't believe he can offlane versus the tri-lane from Liquid. And I'm almost, I would bet money that Liquid will not go for the aggressive tri-lane because they have no reason
5 seconds remaining.
to endanger the experience and gold farm for Io and Chaos Knight. You gotta get the, actually the Shadow Demon. That's a strong pickup. But there's just no reason to go aggressive when you have a Wisp. You're guaranteed to get more experience in the safe lane, and it's just essential to get Wisp to level 6 as soon as possible. I do really like the Shadow Demon pickup, though. I think of the supports available, probably the best one for dealing with the really deadly combo that Liquid has right now. They have a lot of ways
5
to rack up soul counters for Visage to deal a lot of damage. They have good long range. I mean, they have 3 range heroes right now, so there's a lot of damage coming from long range. And actually, Liquid goes for a Lifestealer. It could be an offlane Lifestealer. It's not unheard of. Generally, he needs to be in a 1v1 matchup, however. So maybe Liquid is predicting a solo lane from Fnatic. Because it's very uncommon to see Batrider in the jungle. Not unheard of for the Dire jungle, I should say. It's an important distinction. It could be a Batrider up in the safe lane with an aggressive tri-lane from Fnatic, Gyro, Earthshaker, Shadow Demon, and OD mid.
10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining.
We're just gonna have to see. It's the Lifestealer pick really throws a wrench in things in terms of predicting Liquid's lanes. Lifestealer mid has actually become a little more common,
Prepare for battle.
but that's generally versus other melee mids. He's almost like a Bloodseeker in some ways in that he can just punish. Actually, Liquid, this could be a jungle Lifestealer. That's possible. Bulba usually goes mid, but Puck also kind of has to go mid. Offlane Puck? Is it an offlane? It's an offlane Puck. Interesting. Would not have called that. Puck's gonna have a very hard time up here. A very hard time. These are very interesting lanes from Liquid that are a little bit risky. It could pay off.
30 seconds to battle.
It really depends on how well Fnatic is able to predict these lanes. And if they send Puck up to the top lane and if it's an aggressive tri-lane from Fnatic, then that's a 1v1 matchup for Puck, which is good. The only Notail and Era are still up near the top lane, so it is going to be defensive tri-lane. Hanni will be mid. Alright, I'll run through the lineups here, and it's going to be a Batrider off lane. Okay, too much postulation for me. On the Dire side, Fnatic this time. Trixi will be playing Batrider, Hanni on Outworld Devourer, Notail on Earthshaker, Fly on Shadow Demon, and Era on Gyrocopter. MSS, he'll be playing Puck. He's that stand in this game. Looks to be a dual mid right now from Liquid with Bulba on Lifestealer and Fluff on Visage. And down at bottom, ixmike will be playing that Wisp, and Korok will be playing Chaos Knight versus this solo Trixie. So very unique lanes in this game. A lot of adaptation coming out from both teams, which I think is pretty necessary. The unfortunate thing for Fnatic is that Earthshaker's not the support they want in this lane. And in fact, I really believe that Notail would be better served up at top with Fly down in mid. Shadow Demon is a great combo support and works really well, much better with the Essence Aura from OD. He's pretty much guaranteed to have lots of mana. The trouble for Bulba in this lane is he's just going to be constantly getting imprisoned. That means a lot less. Means he's basically right now he's got mana for 1 open wounds, nothing else, and that's pretty much going to stay that way as hanni keeps on leveling up imprisonment. Actually, MSS, he'll be having a lot of trouble up top. Almost eats a lot of harass. But the imprisons are never going to stop. Oh no! Notail could potentially... Very nice imprisonment from hanni. It's going to save his life. Notail, he was faced with a really tough choice there. Stun the Visage and stop him from auto-attacking hanni, but giving him soul charges, or not stunning him and allowing him to potentially finish off hanni just with normal auto attacks. And the soul assumption there almost finished hanni off. Good imprisonment from hanni, saved his life, so he'll be okay for the time being. I think the hardest lane for Liquid is up at top. MSS has to be playing very carefully in order not to get destroyed by the Disruption Rocket Barrage, which Shadow Demon and Gyrocopter, I can see why they want them together. It is a good combo. There's no obvious synergy between Shadow Demon and Outworld Devourer, particularly against these lanes. That said, all Notail can do is continue to spam Fissure, and that's not going to be a big turnaround ability. He's not going to be able to get into a position to block Bulba, and certainly not Fluff, from escaping. So, I would say this early game favors Liquid. Chaos Knight will be doing absolutely fine down at bottom. Trixi will have to be playing very carefully and doing his best to stop pulls as much as possible, hopefully stealing some farm. And he's got a little bit of stroke of luck here because he's picked up an Invis rune, so he can stay in XP range and get the early levels that he definitely requires. The wards here from Liquid I also like. They've got this lane ward, so they'll know exactly where Trixi is almost all the time. Doesn't mean that they can necessarily kill him. With a little bit of luck on Chaos Bolt, they could certainly do it. But Trixi really can't step out for any last hits. And speaking of which, get those up on the screen. ixmike, he's looking for Trixi. He'll pop the Firefly, wander through the trees, should be okay. Notail's forced to sit in the back. He's not going to be getting any farm, and there's nowhere on the map. Oh, Trixi, he gets hit by a 3-second Chaos Bolt and the Tether Stun. Can he escape? One more right click from Korok. ixmike actually picks up the last hit there. So this bottom lane, that's a very dangerous first blood to be giving up. That's an experience advantage. Going towards Chaos Knight means those reload gank ganks will be coming ever sooner. Fluff, he's actually rotated top, gets the Grave Chill onto Fly. There's the Illusory Orb. MSS jaunts, the Soul Assumption finishes him off for an easy gank. That said, Era's here. He's able to pop the Rocket Barrage before the Waning Rift. Can they finish off MSS in time? Nice jaunt. Can he make it away? He's able to get just across the river. He was at 7 HP. Excellent play by MSS. So close to going down there, but perfectly timing the phase shift as well as the jaunt from his orb to get away. So that's a kill going, another kill going the way of Liquid up at top with some nice rotation from Visage.
Structures are fortified.
So all these lanes going pretty decently for Liquid. And actually, versus hanni, I would expect Bulba to have been a little further behind. But it's 19-7 versus 19-5, and that's really pretty great for Bulba. Trading equally as a melee versus OD is is not shabby whatsoever. So now that Wisp and Chaos Knight are too high level to really approach in the bottom lane for Trixi, that means an abandoned lane. Batrider is a pretty good hero for rotating into the jungle, which is one of the strengths of his offlaning. So he'll start getting his farm. He'll actually be doing better than he was down in the bottom lane. Nice steal of the stack here from MSS. That's going to really hurt Shadow Demon, who's depending on these levels quite strongly. The big hope for Fnatic is this Gyrocopter. Era's getting a pretty fair amount of farm up at this top lane, leading in the last hits. Well, actually, just gets... He's neck and neck with Korok, is how I should say it. Which is how it should be. They're both pretty much uncontested lanes. MSS...
bottom tower is under attack.
Puck is not... because she's so squishy, and because survival can really be such a risky affair, coming really close, as we saw earlier, it's hard for her to be up in the face of Gyrocopter, especially when there's a disruption available, which really good setup for Rocket Barrage. Bulba, he actually eats a Fisher, but hanni, I don't think he can dive. Oh, actually, he finishes off with the Sanity's Eclipse. Nicely played by hanni, knowing exactly how much damage he was going to be dealing. A safe, mild dive for him. And just in time, too. Wisp has not yet hit level 6, but will relatively soon. The only trade-off here is that Liquid has taken the bot tier 1, and Korok did pick up the last hit on that tower, which... that's much more important than it used to be. Getting the last hit on the tower means an overall increase in gold for your team. And particularly for the carry, it's like getting a hero kill, almost. I need to check the exact numbers on how much gold it was. I believe it ends up being something like 100 extra gold for the carry and no decreased gold for the rest of the team. So it is really quite valuable. Oh, there's the stun onto Bulba. There's no Sanity's Eclipse this time, so they shouldn't be able to take him down. But they do want to pressure Bulba as much as possible. And with that early kill and the nice harassment so far, hanni's managed to pick up a lead in mid lane. 35 and 20 on him versus 27 and 7 on Bulba. ixmike, he's closing in on his 6, and that's when things start to get risky for Fnatic. They want to maintain as much aggression as they can while ixmike has still not yet hit his 6. And I like this choice by Trixi. He's aggressively jungling, stealing some of the farm from ixmike, and which he can do that pretty safely. Oh no, he gets stunned out of his... He's got a haste rune. Will he be able to make it out? He's got to be careful. Will the last spirit hit him? No, it will not. He just narrowly makes it out there. So a little bit of a risky teleport there from him. Perhaps not expecting ixmike to be able to land a tether, which I think is a somewhat... not a great assumption because of how long range that tether is. All Bulba had to do was rotate from mid to land that. And especially since he had the haste rune, he didn't need to position himself in such a risky way. So that's wasted time for him and the loss of a teleport scroll. Not a death, but you still have to account for what the opportunity cost is there. There's a smoke up on Bulba and Fluff up at top. They would love to get a kill on Era. Or on Fly. Either one be a decent kill. But they're going straight for Era. Bulba, he's got his phase. He's really fast. Pops the open wounds. There's the call down. Rage is used on Bulba, so he's not going to be taking any of that damage. Easy kill. Actually finished off by fluffnstuff there. So, good kill for Liquid, and that's going to be trouble. Trouble for Fnatic. They're really relying on Era in the late game and the mid game as well. Honestly, both. He's going to be critical to their success. And particularly because he's so farmed, getting a kill on him that much more valuable. Down at bottom, Korok continues to free farm, topping out the last hits at 66 and 13. So not quite perfect last hitting, but pretty close. He is almost picked up his armlet. He's actually probably going to pick that up in just about 30 seconds here. And ixmike is just a sliver away from level 6. The relocate. It's counting down. I heard infest. I think it must have... Yeah, it was Bulba just doing some jungling. No aggression just yet. There's the 6 on ixmike. Let's see if Liquid is going to turn this into any immediate ganks. MSS, he's actually rotated up top, and he's got the Dream Coil as well as a regen rune, so he can go for a risky dive against Trixi. The lasso is up on Trixi, but he has no mobility at this point. His last hit's really suffering for 10 minutes in. It's not uncommon for Batrider to be picking up a Blink Dagger at somewhere between 12 to 15 minutes, and we're 11 minutes in, and he's nowhere near. Still 1,800 gold away. And if he steps even just a little bit too far forward, he will go down.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Liquid may choose to just rotate middle. They have a lot of options for where they could find kills right now, especially because they're completely off the map. There's one ward here. Oh, Trixi. There's the Reality Rift, the Chaos Bolt, the Tether. It's no chance for him. Actually, ixmike picks up the last hit there. 4-1, 11 minutes in. Let's take a look at the golden XP. XP basically identical. 2,000 gold favor. For Liquid, there's a relocate up at top. Era, he could go down again. The Dream Coil is used. Pretty easy kill for Liquid, honestly. Honestly, I wonder if Fly couldn't have saved his teammate by disrupting Era. Look, he could pick up a kill on MSS. But meanwhile, Liquid, they're happy to take the bottom tier 2. There's not a lot that Trixi can really do about this. Can scare them off, potentially, but Fluff is here. He's got his familiars. They could fairly easily turn this around. Although Hanni's here, he's got his Synergy's Eclipse, and that's a significant danger to a hero like Chaos Knight. Very little base intelligence. He will take a lot of damage from that. Especially with 2 Null Talismans picked up on Hanni, his build is kind of interesting here. It's more common to see OD go for the Mechanism and Tranquil Boots kind of build. Things with low mana costs that can proc the Essence Aura and make sure that he's always topped up on mana, because even at level 1, the Arcane Orb... Oh, there's the Reality Rift and Chaos Bolt onto Batrider. fluffnstuff picks up the last hit there. Another kill on Trixi. His impact in this game is quickly diminishing to 0. And that's sad days. But going back to OD's build, he's got that, he's got a lot of auto attack damage and good synergy with his ultimate, but he's not going to have the mana necessarily to sustain. So we'll see how he does. And it does work with his Synergy's Eclipse quite well to get those early stat items. That said, there's no one else in their team is going to be picking up anything like a Mechanism, so I feel like going for this kind of harder carry build. Oh, here's the engagement down the bottom. The defensive, or actually offensive disruption used on... Wow, Korok was just blown apart by the Synergy's Eclipse. There's the lasso onto ixmike. He should drop here. So 3 kills very quickly going the way of Fnatic. I was not expecting it to be so one-sided there, but MSS was nowhere nearby, and Bulba, neither was he. Over-aggression from Liquid. They really wanted to secure the last hit on the tower, which they did manage to do. fluffnstuff picking up the killing blow there. But that's not worth it at all. So that brings Fnatic back into the game a little bit. They are still down 2 towers, with a mid-tier 1 looking quite low, and no immediate towers coming up for them. Their pushing ability is not great. They're really reliant on winning a big team fight to get any big pushing done. And OD, specifically, he's actually quite bad at pushing. His Arcane Orb does not work on towers. Oh, Korok, he's infested right now. The Reality Drift just barely cancels, and the Fissure from Notail will stop that. that early aggression. But this is a deadly combo. Oh, there's a relocate up atop. MSS, he lands the Dream Coil onto Era. Reality Rift back inside. Defensive Disruption will delay this kill for now. But Era, he doesn't have a BKB or any kind of survivability. Trixi, he gets pulled back in. There's no Sanity's Eclipse on hanni. Can Trixi make it out? There's an Echo Slam from notail, but it's only on... It's actually before the Phantasm was popped, so it was not very much damage. And korok, he should be able to pick up the last hit here, or the kill on notail here with his illusions. So no problem. A 5 for 1 in favor of Liquid. Oh, it's a disaster.
Dire's top tower has fallen.
Critical mistakes there for Fnatic. I believe notail waiting on the Echo Slam could have been a big difference. korok wisely holding off on the Phantasm until after the Echo Slam had been used. And I think perhaps notail was feeling that it was better to use the Echo Slam in the event that he died, but I almost feel that having it present was stopping korok from popping the Phantasms and might have stemmed some of the damage in that fight, because his Phantasms did a fair amount of work. So really bad fight for Fnatic. Top tier 1 goes down, mid tier 1 is soon to follow. That's 4 towers in favor of Liquid. The comeback potential here for Fnatic is not great. Especially hanni, he's got to finish his BKB as soon as possible. That's his only way to survive in these fights. Oh no, there's another infest. There's going to be a relocate up atop. They're just going to kill Trixi again. Trixi, he's never going to get a BKB or a Blink Dagger. Never. And that's the only way that Fnatic has to initiate in these fights. There's certainly not going to be a Blink Dagger on notail anytime soon. And even then, initiating with Earthshaker in this game... Oh, no. Okay, it's just a creep going down. I was like, oh, I heard the Reality Rift, and I thought, oh lord. Where's Fnatic gonna get stuffed again? The problem with Earthshaker, I feel, in this game is, despite being on paper very good against Chaos Knight, he can't jump into the fight. He can't be the one to initiate, because you have to save the Echo Slam for once the Phantasm is used. Actually, a rotation down here from Fnatic. They might be able to find MSS. He's just used... Oh, he's going to blink away and straight into the trees. He'll teleport and be A-okay. Wasted time for Fnatic. So even with a Blink Dagger up on Earthshaker, and that's... I have a hard time seeing him finishing that this game. Or at least anywhere in the next 15 minutes. Initiating with that means that you've just given up a lot of your damage potential in the fight, and it is really good against those Phantasm illusions, which take a lot of damage. BKB finished on hanni, so he's a little more survivable, but there's still a lot of physical damage on the table. One nice thing for Fnatic though, they've got this big juicy four stacked Ancients. Era's got his Helm of the Dominator and well on his way towards a BKB, so I would say Era and hanni are really all Fnatic has to hope for as this game goes forward. They're also on the Dire side, so they've got the ability to go for a potentially easier Roche. That said, Liquid, with an IO, it's that much harder. To be safe going for the Roche, because they can just immediately relocate in. There's a smoke onto 4 here for Fnatic. They're looking to surprise Liquid. But will the surprise be enough? That's the big question. There's a BKB up on korok already, and that's a big problem for hanni. korok wisely backs off. Does not let himself get initiated upon. There's an infest inside MSS still. And a good initiation from Puck here could be a big problem for Fnatic. There's a lot of ways for Liquid to jump into this fight.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
And a big silence could really dominate Fnatic. They're depending on Shattered Demon and Earthshaker to provide good lockdown in these fights. Double damage is popped on MSS. There's a smoke right there. I don't think Fnatic had any vision of that. So it could be a quick wraparound gank. No, they've got a sentry here. So they see the smoke. They're going to be okay. Although, they found Era. He does not have his BKB, so there's no way out of this for him. He pops the call down, but he's eating all of the right clicks from Bulba. He does manage to pick up MSS. Immediate buyback from Era. He wants to get back in this fight as soon as possible. There's a lasso onto ixmike. He goes down. Korok, he's got no easy escape mechanism here. He's eating all this damage, does not use his BKB. Teleport away from Liquid. He's going to go down. So, a great fight for Fnatic. Liquid, they got greedy. They got very greedy on chasing Era down. They saw him, and they did manage to take him down. But he managed to get a trade for it. He took out MSS for their trouble, and an immediate buyback allowed him to jump straight back in and basically turn it back into a 5v4. And especially taking out ixmike immediately, very important. Oh, there's a relocate onto Trixi. Trixi could go down again. And there he does. He was almost on his blink dagger. So ixmike, he will return momentarily, but that's okay for Liquid. That means the Roche has been stopped, and they know that they were trying to do it. So Trixi, by feeding that early kill, really halted the potential comeback for Fnatic here. They would have been able to finish the Roche there. Trixi, if he had farmed just about any other lane, he would have gotten the gold for his blink dagger, and this could allow Liquid to go for the Roche. And the question is, can Fnatic challenge this? They're taking it down very quickly. There's an armor up on both Liquid and Bulba, so their damage is good. They don't have any form of armor reduction. Trixi, he's popped the Firefly. Oh, look at all the damage that ixmike is taking. This is going to be a very close fight. Call down is used. Bulba, he actually takes the full damage. There's a lasso into ixmike, so ixmike is out of the fight. And Roche is very low. This could be bad for Liquid. Bulba, he's also really low. He does have the infest, but there's no quick way for him to regain all that health. And so Fnatic, they may be able to go straight back in here. There's the infest onto MSS. Dream Coil is up. Ooh. There's a blink onto Notail. They want to take him out of the fight as soon as possible. Era picks up the Aegis. There's a Dream Coil onto 3. Korok, he's popped the BKB. He's dealing a lot of right clicks. Needs to focus. Well, actually, he's going to take the Aegis off of Era. The BKB still not finished on him. Will he get finished? Yes, he does. He gets finished off with the Soul Assumption. Pops the Aegis. Korok, though, he's dropping really low. There's a 3-second Chaos Bolt onto Era. He's getting chain stunned by the familiars. He drops the call down once more. Can he find a trade here? He gets Korok. Wow.
Radiant's top tower.
Were there buybacks in that fight? No, there were no buybacks. So that's a 4 for 2 in favor of Liquid. Now, Fnatic, they did get the Roche, but they immediately lose the Aegis. Era, because he didn't have his BKB, he was just a flat 100 gold away from finishing that off. If he'd had a BKB there, completely different fight for Fnatic. Era might not have ever lost the Aegis at all, let alone dying a second time. These are such close fights for Fnatic. They're almost pulling it off, but just not quite. And just not quite working out for them. Trixi, however, he has his 22-minute blink dagger. I think he got that about 1 minute ago. A lot of item pickups as a result of that fight. Fluff, he's got his mechanism. Earn up on ixmike, as well as Arcanes and Bottle. Arcane's very common pickup when you're going with the Wisp Chaos Knight, since Chaos Knight's mana pool is so shitty. Force Staff up on Puck. On top of that Blink Dagger, which he's had for a while. BKB immediately picked up after his death. Buckler onto hanni, which I have to question a little bit the choice to go BKB before Mechanism. I really think that, I mean, just imagine a Mechanism in these fights for Fnatic. I think having the longer duration BKB later in the game is probably more valuable. And just the effective HP that Mechanism provides through the heal is so much. There's a smoke up onto 5 here for Fnatic, and they would love to take a second tower in this game. They put a nice lane ward here to make sure that there's no one nearby on the side of Liquid. And with all 5 here, they should be able to get this bottom tier 1. The gold at the moment, it's about 6,000 in favor of Liquid.
Radiant's
Experience,
bottom tower is
3,000 at 25 minutes. It's something. So things definitely not out of hand for Fnatic, but I think the bigger problem is map control. They may be able to get the bot tier 1, but in terms of map presence, this provides very little. And worse, they're trading this for a top tier 2. And that means far fewer safe places to farm on the map
Dire's top tower has
for
fallen.
Era or Hanni. This means the entire jungle is open to roaming and ganking from Liquid, and that's not what you want. They may be able to, they need whatever gold they can get, but that's a very hefty price to pay. And in fact, it could also mean a mid tier 2.
Dire's middle
There's a
tower
smoke up
is under
on
attack.
2 here from Fnatic. They're coming in from 2 sides. There's a Fisher onto Korok. Trixi, he blinks in. Who can he find? But he gets stunned immediately. He's not going to be able to get the lasso off. Sanity Eclipse is used on the BKB Korok, so it does absolutely nothing. Notail, he goes down. Pops the Echo Slam, but these BKBs in Rage just does nothing. Era, he'll be okay, but Hanni will not.
Is under attack.
He's just getting torn apart by the physical damage. That's a 3 for none in favor.
Dire's middle tower.
Actually, that's a 4 for none in favor of Liquid, because it was a buyback from Trixi. The mid tier 3, no, it's a piece of cake for Liquid. They have so much damage,
Dire's
and
middle tower has fallen.
that's going to be a mid-rax. There's nothing that Fnatic can do about this, and
Dire's
at 27
middle
minutes
tower
into the
is
game,
under Dire's middle barracks.
I have a hard time seeing Fnatic come back in this.
Radiant's bottom
Now,
tower
they
is
do
under
have the gyrocopter. That Divine Rapier is always a possibility. Oh no, Era. Although Korok, this could be an overextension by him. Good lasso by Trixi, bringing him further back. Is he going to be able to make it out? No, he's not. He's finished off. A Bulba, meanwhile, he just goes man mode onto onto Fly and manages to find a kill trade there. And MSS, he'll make it out okay too. So a decent disengage. Korok diving too hard there. I think he knew that Trixi had bought back and that he had a blink dagger, so diving that far against a Bat Rider is just kind of asking to get lassoed. Nevertheless, oh, there's an immediate relocate onto Trixi. He could go down again. Oh, Trixi. Oh, you poor son of a bitch. He's never he's never gonna get to have a good time this game. I think he's been the target of at least 3 relocate ganks, if not 4. That's not counting the solo kills down at bottom. Era is gonna take this 4 stacked Ancients. So good gold boon for him. If he can pick up a Rapier, all things are possible with a Rapier gyrocopter. It's true. But he's still a long ways off. He's just hits 3,000 gold as a result of this. Still has 2,700 to go before he'll have that Rapier in hand. And I can have to assume that's what he's going straight for. So it's hard times for Fnatic. Mechanism is picked up on OD, which that could have been an impact in a lot of these fights. Would like to stress again that I think a Mechanism before BKB could have been a big deal. Oh, Era! He's able to pocket the BKB before he gets stunned, but the call down is gonna hit nothing, and that's a big source of team fight. Oh, there's a blink in from MSS. Infest gank from Bulba, and Shattered Demon and Earthshaker immediately taken out of the fight, and there's no return kills here. Oh, Era, his BKB is over. Defensive imprisonment used by Hanni. Astral imprisonment does nothing versus Lifestealer. He's got his rage on, no damage. Era, immediate buyback from him. They're able to take out ixmike, so Korok's escape mechanism is no longer here. Open wounds used on Era. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to escape. It's a 4 for 1. They still don't even take down Korok. Fnatic very reasonably calls the GG. 29 minutes in. 30 kills to 14. At the end of that game, 10,000 gold lead, 10,000 experience lead.
Dire's Bottom
Fnatic,
tower is under attack.
they were really in it up until the very end. These fights were very close, but I have to say,
Dire's bottom barracks are
I think the
under
OD pick was fine in principle. The problem with OD is that he gets hard countered by BKBs, and when you're up against BKB carries,
Dire's
like
bottom
Chaos Knight
barracks
and
has fallen.
most certainly Lifestealer, Sanity's Eclipse is a lot harder to land reliably. Now, because there's almost no cast time on it, it's hard to predict
Dire's middle
exactly
tower is under attack.
when it's coming, so it's not possible for Korok or Bulba to use that preemptively with the expectation of Sanity's Eclipse. However, the early charges on BKB from about 10 to 5 seconds mean that's the entire that can be the entire duration of a fight, and that's how long these fights were lasting. Really, was about 10 seconds before the victor had ultimately been determined. So with the BKBs down, with the BKB on a long duration, and Rage of course being much lower cooldown than a BKB, Sanity's Eclipse did not provide as much as it could have. I think getting the mechanism before BKB could have made a lot of difference, not just for OD, but for the rest of his team in these fights that were very close. And I think the Earthshaker pickup didn't really pay off. I think, you know, on paper, it works really well because Chaos Knight is an illusion hero, but I think because Trixi was shut down so hard, they needed another form of initiation, another way of starting these fights. But they just couldn't. There was no other opportunity. Another classic example of giving up the Wisp and it not paying off.